Hello, Heath the CarTheist here with X-Garage Podcast. I'm just doing a short video here on philosophy treated as science in the public square and in education in general, and just kind of unpack that and show how this particular presupposition, that is, that all of creation, all of existence was shaped by unintended causes, is actually not something that's observable in the sciences or by the scientific method, but it's just an assumption that's put into the textbooks as a way of defining life apart from having to acknowledge a creator. So I'm going to unpack that really quickly here. So if ultimate reality is derived from unintentional causes, then it would necessarily follow that all of reality is and has been shaped by, down to this very day, unintended movement, and thus there's no genuine, no actual, no objective meaning existing in this life. There's no existence of meaning. This also means that any epistemic inquiry that starts with this presupposition of unintended causes and then attempts to make sense of the world upon that same supposition, it is at once and the same time the practice of making sense out of nonsense, and thereto proving itself to be a practice of contradictory nonsense, based upon that supposition that there's no meaning objectively, that in fact, positively, it's all unintended. So its practice is actually a practice that has a starting point of a meaningful existence, from which meaning can be drawn, yet merely in confession and on paper is where it suppresses the truth that meaning precedes the process of knowing, i.e. meaning stands outside the subject's inquiry. So one might say that in terms of theologically, why does this matter? I mean, what it is it's this philosophical premise is humanity. Maybe put it this way: this philosophical premise that all humanity and all creation arose through indifferent causes is merely humanity in Adam suppressing the fact that meaning stands before and outside of the self. And it does this, our fallenness does this, in order to set the self as the epistemic center and ultimate starting point and foundation of knowledge, and thereby deifying the self in the supposition that there's no meaning. It deifies the self to make the point of all meaning and existence within the self, and thus obviously it deifies the self in a real fictitious way. It suppresses the truth about God. Romans 1, God's clearly revealed himself in the things that have been made. His divine nature, his eternal power is clearly perceived through the things that have been made. However, and once again, the practice of drawing out meaning or making sense of the universe, exegeting the world, is actually a practice that admits meaning outside of and beyond the self. A practice that is really, it goes back to that quote of it's thinking God's thoughts after him. And although at the same time it's attempting to hide and to run from God in that process of discovering meaning under the supposition that the universe did not have meaning to begin with in the first place. There's no first and formal cause, so it's saying that humans, we are the ones that give the first and formal cause to things, but the truth is that meaning is first and foremost outside of ourselves, and therefore the formal cause of all things, we too as humans, we're under that. We are subjected to that. And so this goes back to general revelation, that God has revealed himself in creation, and that when we draw out meaning from things, we're actually discovering the nature and character of God in that general way. And by suppressing that, we're suppressing our relationship to God. Well, again, deifying the self. This goes back to the necessity of the gospel, and just to proclaim it to those near you and those who maybe even bought into this presupposition as if it's science. It's really, again, in practice, it's admitting God exists by its practice, but not on paper and in confession. Hope this was helpful.